My colleague Johanna and I are here to support really any questions that kind of come up throughout this presentation. And I'll be screen sharing here in just a minute too to kind of show you guys kind of where to access some things and where to go. And you can certainly follow along as you see fit. I'm kind of getting started just a little bit slowly in a few minutes after the hour, just in case there are any folks who are still logging in. But welcome. So welcome to Ridgewater College, or welcome back if you're a returning student, but also welcome to our email and eServices workshop. We're just really glad you're here, and we really want to develop this workshop series with the intention of answering any questions or concerns really that are bubbling up for students as we are about 4 weeks away from the semester start. So we hope these are really helpful. Like we said in our registration materials, you don't have to have your video on, you don't have to have your, your audio on, but certainly as you have questions and as things come up, again, please feel free to put those into the chat. Please feel free to unmute yourself at any time as well if you want to ask something live. You can certainly follow up and ask us questions afterwards too via email, and I'm going to put my email in the chat here as well, though most of you should have it, as I have been the contact for these workshops and communication and getting information out. So feel free to follow up afterwards too if something comes up and you don't want to ask it live today. That's absolutely a-okay. So just a couple housekeeping things. My name is Stephanie Holland. I'm the Recruitment and Retention Specialist for Technical Programs at Ridgewater College, both in Willmar and in Hutchinson, though, as you can see, and as you've noticed, a lot of things are virtual right now. And I'd also like to introduce she's an academic advisor. So some of you may know Johanna, some of you may work with her, but she's also here to provide support or as I'm going through things today, also provide some feedback or information that she may find helpful as she navigates eServices or works with students as well. So she may be unmuting herself too to help facilitate this workshop today. And coming on a little bit later, Matt Gower, he's our information technology specialist, and he is going to really help us kind of navigate email today, showcase how to access email, how to do that through both the Ridgewater website, and then also how to sync that to your phone if that's something that you want to do. So Matt will be joining us later to kind of go through that piece of things. And as you may have noticed, or maybe you didn't, but we are recording these workshops. So these sessions will be up on our website probably within a few days. It's the same page and same link that you RSVP'd on, but I'm going to go ahead and share that in the chat as well. So if there is information that you just want a refresher on, if you want to share the recording with friends or family that you feel may be interested, or if you just want to reflect on it afterwards, because sometimes these can feel very information heavy. It's a lot of information right up front. It might feel like a mini orientation to some things. So definitely feel free to refresh yourselves afterwards with the videos once they're up on the website. And again, I shared my email and that link to the workshops in the chat, and I'll do that again at the end as well. Okay, this may not take the whole hour. It just kind of depends on maybe some questions that might bubble up or some concerns. But again, we just want to make sure we're kind of just doing a general overview of eServices and the tools within that. Some of you who are here may have familiarity with eServices if you've already registered, or if you've been a student with us for a while, but we just want to make sure we're kind of doing a general overview, because sometimes we find, again, a lot of information can be presented to students up front. So there's a few important things that we just want to highlight and review. So I'll probably take at least maybe the first, I'd say 25 minutes here. And then again, once Matt joins us, he'll take the latter part of the presentation to do the email review. And then one thing I also tell students as well as I'm working with them one-on-one, don't hesitate to, kind of test out eServices on your own once we get logged in today. Spend some time in there. You can't really break it. And so don't worry about doing something that might disrupt something or break something. It's kind of hard to break. And we really want to make sure students know what eServices is, the resources within it, and all the different channels that you can get in touch with people, even through eServices, and the questions that you can get answered right within that student portal. And so definitely even during this presentation today, if you're following along on your computers, feel free to kind of poke around as we're going through things, but definitely encourage you to spend some time afterwards revisiting it. Make sure you know what it is, make sure you know how to get logged in, because really, as you'll see here in a minute once I share my screen, there's really a lot of information that we can kind of find ourselves within eServices too. And that's not to suggest you can't reach out to staff, but you'll definitely notice as we go through, there's a lot of content already built in. Okay, so that's kind of the housekeeping and gist of things. Feel free to just sit back and relax and follow along kind of as we go through the tools within eServices and email. And again, feel free to unmute yourselves or put within the chat as you have questions as we go through today. So I am going to share my screen, and Johanna will help me monitor the chat, so as things come up, we'll be sure we're getting your questions answered. Okay, so hopefully you guys are all seeing this, and this is just our ridgewater.edu website. Is everybody seeing that? Any thumbs up? Good to go? Thanks, Sheila. I can see you, so I'm going to call you out and say thank you for giving me the thumbs up. I appreciate that. Okay, just got to move something around here. So hopefully you guys are pretty familiar with ridgewater.edu. I imagine a lot of you have spent some time perusing it to get questions answered, to get started with some things. So this should hopefully be a pretty familiar website to you. So the one thing I want to point out as far as how to access your logins, get logged into things, they are conveniently placed really in one centralized location. So as you're at the ridgewater.edu website, you'll notice at the top here, there's a lot of different sort of grayed out, blacked out words. And where we're going to be spending some time today is within this logins tab. Now, as you hover over it, you're going to notice several things pop up. A lot of these may be very important resources for you. So this is just something to kind of keep tucked away in the back of your brain. Ridgewater.edu logins. And again, that's really where you're going to be able to access a lot of information. So for the purposes of today, we are going to use this eServices tab. Now you'll notice there's also D2L, Email Office 365 Star ID. Those are probably the ones that students are going to find most useful. And we are actually going to be going over a couple of these in more depth at specifically D2L at future workshops. So just keep in mind, today is the first of a series of 4 workshops, but it's not too late to get registered for the next 3 as well. So, and again, you can do that just at the main RSVP page where you did for this one. So if you haven't gotten registered for the next 3, which will be books and supplies, all things financial, and then the last one before the semester starts is D2L, and then an email refresher for those who maybe need an email refresher. So again, just something to keep in mind. So again, for the purposes of today, and again, if you're following along or kind of playing along with eServices with me today, ridgewater.edu logins, and then we want to click on eServices to get logged into our account. Now I'm going to log myself out just so that you can kind of see what this should look like from your perspective as well. Now keep in mind, when I get logged into mine, it's going to look a little bit different than yours because I'm classified as staff. So some things might look just a tad different for you as students. And don't worry about that. That is totally normal. But what you'll notice here is that you're going to get logged in with your star ID and password. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger in case that's a little too small on your screen. So your star ID and password are what you're going to need to access eServices, along with a lot of other things. So if star ID, you're like, oh man, what is that? Or I don't have that. Or how do I, refresh my password? Let me also show you here before we get logged in, the website where you can do that. This is an incredibly helpful website for students who either need to activate their star ID, and hopefully all of you know what that is, but if you don't, this is a very, very helpful resource to refresh yourselves, get that star ID, and once you get it, you're going to want to write it down because that is something that you're going to utilize for a lot of different things. And it is kind of a random mix of letters and numbers, and again, that's totally normal. They're just kind of assigned to us once we come into the system. but you're going to want to write that down because the star ID and your password is something you will use often. So again, starid.minstate.edu, you can see it written right up here. That is where you can go to get your star ID or even reset your password if you're having any difficulty with that password. So just wanted to point that out for some folks who may have come in today or may have had that question about what is my star ID? How do I reset that password? And all of that good stuff. Now, some students might have a little glitch with their star ID where it doesn't recognize an email or whatever the case may be. This is where you might need to call the system kind of star ID help desk for more information and to maybe get something reset. So I just wanted to point that out. Star ID help and FAQ. You might have to have a couple clicks there, but it will eventually get you to an I believe it's an 877 number to call for them to help support that. So I've had to do it myself, but yeah, just wanted to kind of point out Star ID self-service is a very useful tool that we use often just to make sure folks get what they need. So, all right. So back to actually getting logged into eServices. So again, you'll see my star ID and password has auto-populated. The institution that's listed is Ridgewater College because that's where I'm currently affiliated. But just depending upon which college students may have affiliation with, they may select a different school, but it should auto-populate to the school wherein you're going to be currently taking classes. And now once you log in for the first time, it should ask you if you want to save that information, and I would do that. So then the next time on your personal device or computer or whatever, you don't have to input your star ID and password every single time. It will just automatically get you logged in. So once we log in, it should look something like this. Now, again, yours might look just a little bit different because you're a student at Ridgewater College, wherein mine is going to show any other schools within the Minnesota state system that also uses star ID. I might have had affiliation, so different schools I've worked at or taken courses at. So mine, at least on the front page here, might look a little bit different. But where we're going to kind of focus our time here today, maybe for the next 20 minutes or so, is really on the left-hand side here, just where it says under eServices. Now again, this is where after today too, I would also encourage students to just spend a little bit of time familiarizing themselves with the resources that are available to you here, and just kind of getting to know eServices a little bit better. And if at any point when you're in eServices, if you kind of get turned around, you can either click on dashboard or home, and it's going to kind of take you back to these sort of main pages. So again, you can't really break eServices, but if you do kind of get, you know, sort of into the trenches a little bit with kind of clicking around and familiarizing yourself, just click on dashboard or home, and those are going to get you kind of back to these main pages. Okay. Sorry if I'm talking a little fast. I just want to be respectful of time and want to make sure we get everything fit in. So I'm just going to pause here for a moment, just in the event folks are trying to get logged in or you know, maybe want to get caught up. I just want to pause here for a second just to make sure folks are with us. And hopefully you can hear me okay as well. Sometimes with computers, I never know how well I'm coming through here on the audio, but haven't heard otherwise, so I'm going to assume it's okay. So really for the purposes of the next few minutes, like I said, as we're here together, I want to spend the bulk of our time really going over sort of these few tabs at the top: courses and registration, academic records, financial aid, and bills and payment. So really once we click on each of those, we're going to see a lot of resources pop up that might answer a lot of questions that students may be having. So the first one I want to click on is courses and registration. Now, for those of you who maybe have already registered, this probably looks very familiar. And for students who maybe have yet to register, this is a good introduction to this part of eServices as far as some resources that you will be utilizing. But a couple things I wanted to point out just as it pertains to courses you may be taking for fall or spring. And I'm going to click on search for a course. So if you're following along, please feel free to do that with me as well. And I'm just going to use some examples here. Again, Ridgewater College should auto-populate. Since we are currently in the summer semester, that will also probably auto-populate. But if you're looking for classes in the future, you're just going to want to change that to make sure you're within the semester that you're currently looking. So just as an example for a few things I just want to showcase, I'm going to select fall, and I'm going to select communication studies. Now you'll notice all of our different programs, all of our different disciplines are listed here in alphabetical order. And so whatever you're looking for, you'll just want to find that discipline for which you want to get registered, select it, and then kind of go into it to search for courses that you may need. So just for the sake of example, I'm searching for communication studies. I didn't pick any class in particular, so any class within communications studies that's being offered in the fall is going to show up. You can certainly narrow that down if you need to. I'm assuming most people are going to be working with their advisor to get registered for classes. So a lot of this may be talked about in those advising and or registration sessions as well. And so a lot of this may be repeated down the line or in a future meeting with your advisor. So I'm just going to take this first one as an example here, Communications 1210, Intro to Communications. You'll see it's a full semester course from August until December. It tells you how many credit hours there are. It tells you if it's full or open, who the instructor is, and of course the delivery method as well. And so you'll notice for all of these for fall, they are completely online courses. And you'll notice a lot of them are default, which is a good problem to have. But why I wanted to pull this up was because I want to show you a couple things within the actual course title. So again, once you search for a course, all of this is going to pull up. But if I click on the title of the course within eServices, it's going to pull up a lot more information about that particular course. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to pull this up, it's good to see kind of all the notes, different details as far as the course and availability. But one thing I find very important to showcase, and I'm going to make it bigger again here, is this add, drop, withdraw space, okay? Now, the reason I think that's important to kind of point out a little bit more, and Johanna, feel free to jump in if you want to at any point with any more details too, but we want to make sure students understand, well, I do anyway, particularly just the difference between dropping a course and withdrawing from a course. Now, you'll notice here, the last day to drop a class and basically get a full refund on it, and it's as if it never happened, is showcased here, okay? Now, depending upon when a course starts and ends or different caveats, this date may be different based on the course. But this is just very important to kind of point out, just because you really have that first full week of the semester to drop a class and have no financial or academic responsibility for it, okay? Now, after that date, it would be considered a withdrawal, which is a little bit different, okay? Now, the last day to withdraw from this course is much, much later. Now, I will say, add a caveat here too, if you are considering dropping a class or withdrawing from a class, my rule of thumb is it's always a good idea to talk to your advisor first, just to make sure you understand any caveats to that. If there's, any financial aid ramifications, any academic ramifications, anything like that. It's just a really good rule of thumb to make sure that you're staying in touch with your advisor anytime you need to adjust your schedule, whether that's dropping a course, withdrawing from a course, or adding a course for the semester. Okay, so again, add, drop, withdraw, I find is something that's very important to just point out so students really are aware of what those dates are. Okay. And a few other things too that kind of bubble up underneath here as well is it's gonna, for those of you who are in liberal arts or for those of you who are in technical programs and maybe need to take specific courses from, say, a goal 1 or the goal areas, it's gonna tell you here as well how that's satisfied. Okay, Johanna, did you want to add anything?
So I hope everyone can hear me here. I was just going to point out that with the add drop date, that can vary for your course depending on how long of the semester your course is offered. So if it's not a full semester course, if it starts later or ends early, that add drop period will vary, as well as the withdraw deadline. So you can see it there in the course description, but you can also, if you go to the view modify, Stephanie, when you talk about that schedule option, you'll be able to see the information there as well.
And I just pulled that up, but of course on mine, nothing is showing just because I'm not currently registered, and mine will look a little bit different for you guys, for those of you who are registered. But yes, that's a very, very good thing to point out. Any questions on that? I mean, hopefully that makes sense. And again, if it doesn't, if we're kind of going through this quickly, again, as I've said a few times, and I probably will repeat it, spend some time within eServices, even on your own, just to kind of poke around a little bit, even after today's session. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. But again, those are just kind of some tips and tricks and things to point out as far as courses you're taking. And again, being very mindful of those add, drop, withdraw dates, and really what each of those means. So again, under courses and registration, there's a lot of different links here as far as searching for courses. Once you have all the courses that you need, reviewing that plan before you get registered. And again, oftentimes you're going to be going through this with an advisor, either your faculty advisor or one of our professional academic advisors as well. So, and again, if you need help with that or need help getting connected with folks who can help you get registered, feel free to send me an email after today's session and I can definitely help you connect those dots. And again, one other thing to point out in line with talking about withdrawals, if you need to withdraw from a course, you do need to do that on your own, okay? Unless you're doing a complete withdrawal from all of your classes, in which case you'd probably want to get in touch with your advisor, and then we'd want to connect you with one of the counselors on campus. Again, just to make sure students are aware of what that means, any financial or academic considerations to think about before you make those decisions. But if you're withdrawing from a single course in the semester, you would again log back into eServices, view modify your schedule so that you can see all of the courses that you are currently registered for. And then you would want to, from there you'd be able to withdraw yourself from that course. Okay, and again, you don't have to have all this memorized today. Again, this is being recorded and you can certainly reach out to myself, Johanna, your advisor, faculty with help with any of this at any point throughout the year. We are completely happy to help, and again, it can be a lot of information. So no need to memorize, but reach out with questions. Okay, so that really kind of, I feel like, are some of the important things to point out within courses and registration. And just some kind of things to think about. I thought I saw something in the chat maybe pop up, but I can't see it. Johanna, anything in the chat?
Nope, no questions at this time. And again, anyone, if you have questions, you can post it to the group or you can private message me and I can respond to you directly.
Thank you. Okay, so that kind of is sort of the Cliff's Notes, or maybe even more than that, I guess, on courses and registration. So the next thing I want to kind of go over here is just the next one down from that, academic records. So again, if you're following along, you can certainly scroll down to that. Now here is where you can, as you can see, once I click on academic records, you can check your grades. You can get unofficial transcripts, but the other thing that I think is important to note under this section is what's called a degree audit report. Oftentimes you might see that simplified to a DAR, D-A-R, degree audit report. But sometimes when you are preparing for an upcoming registration session or meeting with your advisor, they may ask you to review your degree audit report in preparation for that. Now, what your degree audit report will indicate is your major, the requirements of that major, whether they be technical credits or gen ed credits or whatever, and how many of each of those that you need. Now, again, mine is going to look different because I don't have a current program listed because I am staff. But once I clicked on that degree audit terminology there, if you click on that, you'll see some information to read through here, but you can request a degree audit to review. So if I do that, it's going to pull up a new screen, ask me for my star ID and password, and I just want to go through this a little bit just to showcase what it looks like on your end as well. So there are a couple things to click through to get that degree audit. But if I click on students, of which you are, and then I want to enter my student ID, which I can find on the home page of eServices. So remember, your star ID and your student ID are two things you may utilize, but they are different. And sometimes they may need to be used in different arenas. I would enter my student ID and I would click submit. Now, there's not going to be the other day, let's see. The other day it did actually show me something. Let me see if I can do this. And now I know I moved through that really fast. I'm sorry. So hopefully that makes sense. Did everybody see that? Let me repeat that again, just because I did run through that a little bit quickly. I'm going back here. I apologize if I'm making anybody dizzy. So I just want to enter my student ID, click on submit. And for most of you, this is not going to say undecided, and it's probably not going to say summer 2020. It's going to say your particular program and the upcoming catalog year. So just for the purposes of showing something, I input accountant and I input fall 2020, just to kind of showcase what a degree audit report is going to look like. So I'm going to run that, and you'll see here it says your audit is loading, and then it's going to pull up a degree audit report. So this is a very, very, very handy tool, I think, for both students and advisors and staff to use when helping support students through answering questions about courses, what to take, what have I already taken, and really to help plan out your time at Ridgewater College. So I cannot underscore enough how useful of a tool I find this to be. So again, I just sort of listed this as an accountant, and it's going to tell me the requirements for this program, and of those requirements, which I have satisfied and which I have yet to do. So again, for those of you who are maybe here as a refresher to eServices, maybe you've been at Ridgewater for a semester or 2 semesters, a lot of these requirements are probably going to show up as completed. Okay, now you'll notice again on this one, just because it's an example, you're going to see a bunch of red X's by a lot of these requirements that are showing on this report. And again, that's because I haven't taken any classes. I haven't even started this program. So a lot of the requirements are showing as not done because I haven't registered for anything or completed anything. Okay, so for those of you who may be following along or may be looking at this at a later time, if you have taken any classes or if you are currently registered for any classes that satisfy your requirements, you're going to see those noted underneath that requirement. So for example, if you see general education requirements listed on your degree audit report and you are registered for English 1209 or 1210 and communications 1210, you'll see it's all noted here. If you're registered for those for fall, that will show up here. Okay, and now once you are registered for it, if that is the entire requirement necessary, that red X is going to turn to a check mark. And that means that you have completed or are in process of completing that particular requirement. So hopefully that makes sense. And again, it's just a really, really, really useful tool to use in meetings with your advisor or to look at even independently when you're planning out your time at Ridgewater College. It just really allows you to see in real time how those requirements are being satisfied and when those requirements are being satisfied. So again, very useful to make sure that you're not taking classes you don't need to take, and just making sure that you're taking the classes required, you're doing it in a time frame that works for you, you're taking the number of credits that works for you every semester, so on and so forth. So Again, a very, very useful tool we find in planning and just making sure that you are taking the classes and getting what you need. So any questions popping up about that? Okay. Jana?
Nope, I was just going to say it looks good. And then I just wanted to give you a quick update that Matt from IT is here whenever you're ready.
Yep. Hi, Matt. Welcome. I'm just going to go over a few more. I'm just going to go over a few more things, and then I'm going to turn it over to Matt Gower, our wonderful colleague in IT, to talk about email. So again, hopefully the degree audit report makes sense, and again, it's accessible through eServices, left-hand side academic records, degree audit. Okay, and then as you may remember from me getting to this page, which is an actual degree audit report, there's just a couple of clicks that you would need to do to get to this report. But again, can't underscore it enough. Super, super, super beneficial and helpful resource for students in educational planning with their advisor. So wanted to be sure to point that out. I'm going to close that out for now. Go back to eServices here. And then I want to just highlight and click on financial aid and bills and payment tabs before I turn it over to Matt. Okay. So if you recall, I'm going to go back to kind of the home page here of eServices. And again, we're kind of continuing on our scrolling through these left-hand side tabs here. And the next one I want to click on is financial aid. Now, keep in mind, there's not going to be much on mine because, again, I have not applied for the FAFSA and I'm not a current student. We're not going to go into a terrible amount of detail about financial aid in today's workshop, but keep in mind we will be covering a lot of those pieces in 2 weeks at the All Things Financial workshop. So for those of you who have also RSVP'd for that workshop, there will be a ton of information at that one on August 12th, I believe it is, as far as actual financial aid and all of those financial pieces, okay? But for the purposes of today, I just want to point out what you would be seeing within that financial aid tab, okay? Now, this is going to basically show you where you're at in the financial aid process of things. So for me, if I were a student, this is telling me I have not even yet submitted my FAFSA. So if I were wanting to get started in fall semester and I was planning on utilizing financial aid as a resource, I would want to do that. I would want to go to ridgewater.edu, navigate my way to the financial aid tab, and make sure I click on the link for the FAFSA to get myself going and to take time to fill that out for fall. So, and the reason I say you might want to do that now is because those can take several weeks to process. So if you have not yet filled out your FAFSA, now would be a good time to do that just to make sure that you are set for fall semester. Okay? Now, once you've submitted your FAFSA and things are processing, you'll notice these remaining steps may turn from an X to a check mark, meaning you're moving through the process and you're getting to where you need to be as far as accepting your financial aid and then getting those funds, okay? So again, after I submit the FAFSA, it's going to tell me, aid application status. There might be some things required of me to do yet and to submit yet to our financial aid office. All of that should be within eServices to know that, and you would probably also get some communication directly from financial aid about what's needed, okay? Now, once it comes time to respond to what you've been awarded from Bridgewater College, that's also found within eServices. And again, you would get communication about that, and then you would come here to respond to that award, to accept those grants and loans, whatever the case may be. And then once disbursement is ready, and I believe that is September 4th of this year, Johanna, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. It's going to let you know all of that right here. Okay, so again, I just wanted to point that out, just highlight it here so that if you want to check the status of your financial aid at any point, you can do that right here within eServices. Okay. And if you scroll down here, I'm just going to highlight this Contact Us button as well. That is going to give you the contact information for several of our offices on campus, including financial aid. Okay, so if something looks kind of odd, or if you're concerned about anything regarding your financial aid status, or if something just doesn't look quite right with eServices, please come to this Contact Us page, click on Financial Aid Office, and that will auto-populate an email that you can send off right to them. And of course, their contact information can be found on the ridgewater.edu website as well. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense as well. So for the last portion of my part today that I want to just talk about before I turn it over to Matt is this bills and payment tab. So we've talked about courses and registration, a few things with that, academic records, financial aid, and bills and payment, I think, is another important one to go over as well. So I just clicked on that, and you'll see, again, mine might look different than yours. You'll see I'm affiliated with a number of different colleges within the Minnesota state system. And so my balance is showing as 0. Now, for those of you that have registered for fall semester, you might see that there is a balance here, a tuition balance for which you need to, just pay or think about what those options are if you're not utilizing financial aid. Now, what you'll notice here is there's a few tabs down here. For those of you who do have a balance here, you will also likely have a tab here that would allow you to register for a payment plan. Okay, I don't have that because I currently have a 0 balance, but for those of you that do, a payment plan is an option as far as taking care of your tuition. Okay, so you can make a payment, you can give someone access to take care of that bill. So fingers crossed that applies to a lot of people. Or again, you can access that payment plan option as well. There's more account detail that you can kind of look at as well if there's any bills from previous semesters or anything like that. Make payments. Anything that really is surrounding that option is found here under bills and payment. And another question we get oftentimes too, especially in the spring, is where can folks access that 1098-T tax form for filing taxes? That is also found within eServices as well. The last one here under bills and payment. Okay. And again, you do not have to have all this memorized today. It's a lot of information. And I know, for the purposes of our time together, we've only had about less than an hour today. So again, don't feel like you need to memorize this. Please come back and revisit eServices on your own, and then reach out to your advisor, to faculty, to anyone in student services, to myself if you have questions. And certainly we don't pretend to know absolutely everything. And if we don't, we want to make sure we get you in touch with the folks that can be the most helpful. So again, we went through several tabs here on the left-hand side. You'll also notice campus links kind of directly below all of that will get you right to our ridgewater.edu homepage, the bookstore, which again, I know books and supplies are a big question and concern for a lot of folks. If you have not yet, please register for that session where we're going to go into much more detail about books, how to order them, what supplies you may need, what tools you may need if you're part of a technical program. And that session is next Wednesday, August 5th from noon to 1. Same format, over Zoom, all that good stuff. Okay, so a lot more information about those types of things is found within eServices as well. Okay. So I am going to stop sharing. Hopefully you guys now see me again. And any questions that bubbled up for anybody at all before I turn it over to Matt? And again, for folks who maybe didn't get my contact, I just put it in again at the bottom of the chat, my email address. So if anything comes up for just that brief tutorial that we did on eServices, email me. I'm completely happy to help, or happy to get you in touch with your faculty or academic advisor if maybe I'm not the best person to assist. Or certainly if you want to review this workshop once it's up on our workshops website, the video version, feel free to click on that link as well, and it will get you there. But With our last 17 minutes or so, I wanted to be sure to turn this over to Matt Gower. Again, he is our colleague in IT, and we want to make sure that we're helping folks get connected with their email, that they know where to find it within the Ridgewater website, but also how to sync it to your phone. So with that, I would like to introduce Matt and have him take over from here.
Sounds good. I think you got to give me a screen sharing permission.
Well, let me try to do that. Did that work?
Yes.
Hopefully. Okay. And I will mute myself, but I will monitor the chat. Thanks, Matt. Welcome.
Sounds good. Thanks. All right. Well, hello, everyone. Let's see. All right. So you should see my screen pop up there. Hopefully you see the Ridgewater webpage. And I'm also going to shoot you guys out something in chat right away that you can reference back to if you need to. But as far as your Ridgewater email goes, they may have already told you, but that is your official form of communication for the college. So your first thought might be, well, can't I just forward that to my Gmail or my, my Hotmail or something? And we don't, well, you can do that if you really would like to. We don't normally recommend that just because you're more likely to miss stuff from the college that may be important. And then also when you are no longer with us and your email account goes away, some of that stuff stays active in the background, and you will keep getting emails from us, and then you'll be calling us asking us to stop sending you emails, but we're not sending it to your personal email, we're sending it to your Ridgewater one that's still active. And then you gotta go through the process of reactivating your star ID and then getting back into your account to remove that forward, because we can't do that for you. So just go into your email. So as far as accessing your email, pretty easy to get to if you go to the Ridgewater homepage. You can do this from a mobile device as well. And under logins, you're going to find D2L, your eServices, the Star ID page if you need to change your password. But email and Office 365 is where you're going to want to go to log into that. And for students here, you're going to have an email address, which typically, unless you've been a student in the past, is your first name dot last name at go.ridgewater.edu. And that's one that you would write down on a form for someone or an application, or if you wanted to give your email to somebody. Some of you who maybe were with us a few years ago, you might have like the first 3 letters of your last name followed by the first initial of your first name at go.ridgewater. But usually, if you have that and if you're ever wondering, you can ask either the gals at the front desk if you're there, or otherwise email one of us IT folks, and we can just verify you've got the right thing. Even your advisor should be able to make sure you know what your actual email address is. But as far as logging in, you're actually going to use your Star ID at go.minstate.edu. And you actually can email to this as well. So if you want to use this, if it's easier for you to just remember 1 instead of 2, you can put that on forms. You can use this in like online, that's what I'm looking for, signups for stuff. If you use what I'm getting at is if you put this down as your email address, you'll still get your mail. So for faculty though, we have to get rid of that go here, but you'll log in with your Star ID at go.minstate.edu and then your Star ID password. And you'll get, first time you sign in, you'll get the lovely TwoFactor Authentication. It'll walk you through the steps to hook up your cell phone or another email address, whatever you want to do there. And you can either have it call you with a code, or you can download an application that will just prompt you. I just got the prompt on my cell phone that said, "Do you sure you want to approve this?" I said yes, and that allows you to log in. And that's really just protecting you from potential phishing scams. So if someone were to get access to your account, either through your password or other means, they wouldn't be able to get all the way in unless they also had the device that you set up for two-factor authentication. So once you get on the home page here, first thing I'll point out is if you need access to the full version of the Office apps on your computer, laptop, tablet, even on your phone. As far as the phone goes, you can get that from the App Store and log in the same way that we just logged in. But for Macs or Windows, you can come to this home page here after you log in, and up at the top right, you've got Install Office. If you click that once, you've got Office 365 apps. If you click that, it'll give you a download, and that will actually give you the full-blown Office Pro Suite that will have Excel, PowerPoint, Word, Publisher, Access, all that stuff. And that's provided to you at no cost while you are at school with us. And that'll also work for a year after you're done. So if you're, here for the fall and spring and you're coming back for the next year, that'll continue to work for you throughout the summer, which is a great perk. The stuff that you're seeing right here, these apps, these are like, I call them light applications, right? So if you need to do something real quick and you're on a computer that maybe doesn't have the applications installed on it, you can come in here and, pop open Excel and a new blank workbook. And you can do stuff in here. If you need to do more complicated stuff, like in Excel especially, or maybe write a paper in Word, you don't get all of the same features in here. Like I said, it is a light version. It's very, very similar, but there are some stuff like you wouldn't be able to do a class that, like an Access class or an Excel, an accounting class with Excel. You're gonna be, all this stuff's gonna be in the wrong places, and yeah. So, but as far as doing something quick, it's a great resource on there. Let's go back to the home page here. Maybe. Am I going too fast? Maybe.
Well, and it's being recorded, so just keep that in mind too. So folks,
Sure.
after today, or anybody who maybe didn't get a chance to join us, they'll be able to review it on our website afterwards. So It's
Sure.
all good.
If
Thanks,
you hear
Matt.
any clucking, I'm sorry. It's my dog. He's barking in the background. He thinks he needs something. So anyway, so back on the home page here. So navigation, up at the top left, you'll have navigation to all these applications here. Outlook is going to be your Ridgewater email. So, all right, we logged into here. This is the home landing page. You can click on Outlook, and this is where you're going to find your Ridgewater email. This will be very similar to, Gmail, Hotmail, anything else on the web, stuff like that. If you want to set up Outlook after you download the applications where I showed you before, you can set it up in there, logging in the same way that we logged in here. Anything else I should touch on email itself that you can think of?
Matt, can you show them how to search the directory?
So if they're going to send an email to somebody?
Yep.
Okay, I gotcha. So easiest way I typically do it is I just start a new message, and this might be a problem because I actually email you folks, but when you start typing there, it should start, oh my gosh, I've got so much stuff in here. I'm an awful example. So if you just start typing someone's name here, so let's go, it should pop up like here. I'll just delete you there. So, all right, I can do, I know her name's Johanna. I can't remember her last name. We can do search, and you'll get a list of people here, and you can, probably figure out which one it is here, right? Otherwise, you can go to contacts at the bottom, or people is what they call it. And bear with me, I think I've got more than the average bear here. Default global address list, I think that's the one we're gonna want. And then we get everybody in the Min-State system. I think there actually might be Ridgewater College down here as well. And I don't think you guys are gonna have all of these same ones that I have here. So Ridgewater College, all, there we go. You'll probably see like that one and maybe one or two others. And then through here, you can search for contacts. You can see we've got Steffi Jimenez. Apparently, maybe I spelled your name. Oops. Yeah, I missed an A. Stephanie Holland, etc. Does that make sense? A little bit?
And keep in mind too, if I may interject, if you're looking for the contact information for your advisor or faculty or Matt, Johanna, myself, you can also just go to ridgewater.edu. And then on the top right-hand side of the home screen, kind of where we were showing you before, where there's those sort of grayed out words, logins, library, so on and so forth, there is a tab that also reads Contact Us. So if you click on that, and Matt's kind of showing you that right now, click on Staff Directory, and then you can just input last name, first name, or department. There's a lot of different ways that you can locate that information. And sorry, Matt, if you were going to say that.
No, I actually, that just got put there not that long ago, so I forgot that got moved there. So.
Yep, so that's also a wonderful resource to locate. Maybe you don't even know somebody's name and you're like, I think they work in IT. Oftentimes you could put information technology and it's going to bring up folks who work in that department. And you'll see their phone number and also their email. So just something else to point out too that you can access right from the ridgewater.edu webpage.
Yeah, that's great. So the only other thing I'll show you here then is, so from, get rid of some of these, the Ridgewater College homepage, under Student Services and Activities, you'll have a Technology Services page, and that's our IT page. So if you've got a a question and you feel like attempting to be self-sufficient, this is a good spot to start. Does point you in the direction of our one-stop support if you've got questions for any of these here. It's got some information on Zoom and how to use that. Let's see. I was going to show you down here some information on OneDrive, and then email setup. So the email setup down here is for your cell phone, right? Most of you will probably Zoom through that with no problem whatsoever. But if you do need some direction, I sent that out in the chat. That was, I think, the top link I sent out at the very bottom of that page. Then, so you've got some kind of generic direction, because obviously we can't give you a direction for every phone that's out there. Most of them are not too bad to set up. And always, if you have any questions with any of this stuff, any technology needs, you're more than welcome to give us a call at the help desk, which I posted at the bottom of the chat as well. Let's see. I think that's all I kind of got, unless you have something you want me to touch on.
No, I think that was a great overview. And again, just with limited time, I know we kind of buzzed through a lot of things really quickly today, folks. So again, I don't want you to hesitate to reach out with questions, either to Johanna, Matt, myself, anybody else at the college that you may know. But we just wanted to really review a lot of details as far as eServices and email goes today, because again, I said this at the beginning, when you're getting ready to start something new, especially college, there's a lot of information that's thrown at people that we give you to kind of chew on and make sure that you know. And, I think some things can kind of get lost in that process, or maybe you didn't even know that you had a Ridgewater email. We just want to make sure folks know what's out there for you to access. And to glean any, answers to questions that you may have. So Matt, that was a great overview. And again, folks, we only have a few minutes left. So just a reminder, Johanna just put her contact information in the chat. Johanna, myself, Matt, any of us are more than happy to help keep things connected. And within a few days, again, we have been recording this session. Within a few days, it should be up live on the workshop's website. Again, it was that link where you went to register for this, and I did put it already in the chat as well, but I will throw it down here again, just in case you don't have that. Or again, if you aren't registered for the next 3 workshops, which will be about books and supplies, all things financial, so financial aid questions, scholarships questions, just anything about the financial pieces, which we know a lot of students have questions about. And then finally, the Wednesday before classes start, we'll do a D2L workshop as well. So all things D2L, we will do an email refresher there for folks who maybe couldn't attend today. So again, if you have not signed up for those workshops and any of that seems interesting, same format, come as you are, sit and listen, follow along, and just be present so that any of your questions are being answered. So we've got 3 minutes to go if anybody does have any questions. Otherwise, I just want to thank all of you for being here today. I hope you did get a question answered as we kind of went through things, or maybe learned something new that you didn't know about email, or you didn't know how to access in eServices, and hopefully this was super beneficial. So anything that Matt or Johanna want to say as we close as well? Otherwise, I just want to really thank you guys for being here today, and hopefully we'll see you at a future workshop. If not, we'll see you this fall somewhere, somehow.
So
thanks, everyone.
The OAR sheets that they typically get in their folders, are those getting emailed out now, or are those getting sent in the mail? Do you know, like the technology sheets?
Johanna, do you know?
So if you are in a technical or a trade program, that should have been sent to you at orientation or at the advising and registration day. If you're a liberal arts and science student, generals, or undecided student, when you meet with your advisor, they should be sending that to you. So if you didn't get anything on technology, you're going to want to email your academic advisor or message Stephanie or myself, and we'll get you that handout.
Okay, great. Because yeah, I was just going to reference that covers a very broad spectrum of your most likely, or I guess frequently asked IT questions. So if you didn't take a look at that and you did get it, or you're not sure if you got it, it wouldn't hurt just to figure out where it is and throw it somewhere you can find it later in case you do have some questions. It touches a lot of the login questions and email questions.
Perfect. Thanks for bringing that up. I spaced that, but yeah, very good resource. Anything else to add? Any questions from the group? We've got 1 minute to go. Awesome. Got in under the deadline. That's perfect. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining us, and reach out with any questions or concerns. Thank you.